Hello, and welcome to PATV's newest series, Extraordinary Women. I'm Shirley Bruno, the Executive Director of Public Access TV and your host for today's program. This episode, A Word from the Wise, is our pilot program. The series Extraordinary Women will focus on women in our community whose talents, ideas, and efforts have made an impact on our community in unique ways. Today I am so pleased to have in the studio three extraordinary women who have greatly influenced me and many others by their outstanding community work. That's why today's program is titled A Word from the Wise. All three women are longtime Great Neck residents and have been involved with many organizations. Our guests today are Alice Fishman, current chair of the Great Neck North Shore Cable Commission, member of the Public Access TV Board of Directors, and a former mayor of Russell Gardens. Our second guest is Sabina Miller, current president of the Lions Club, producer of The Grace Grella Show here at PATV, and a former New York State ombudsperson. Our third guest is the Honorable May Newberger, former New York State Assemblywoman, former supervisor of the town of North Hempstead, and currently Director of Nassau County Planning Federation. Thank you all for joining me today. I have a first question to start off of our very famous panel here. What made you decide to get involved in the community? Alice?
Okay. I moved into the village of Russell Gardens, went to an association meeting, didn't like some of the things that were going on, so I volunteered, and that was the beginning. I ended up serving on the board of directors of the association, becoming a trustee of the village, and eventually the mayor.
Were you a little nervous about getting into politics?
No, because it was gradual. You move up one step at a time. By the time I became mayor, I pretty much knew what was going on. And it's a small village, and I always like to say village government is really grassroots, and it was very fulfilling.
Now, May, you were at a different level in politics.
Yeah, but I think I started in the community too, quite different way from Alice. Like I suppose all of us, we were all involved in the PTA or Cub Scouts or things like that. But as time went on, I became involved in the civil rights movement and in the efforts that we made here in Great Neck. We started the Human Rights Committee here, and we worked on fair housing. And then I was also I was always in the rebels group, whatever that was. I was a rebel. And we also were part of the group who opposed the war in Vietnam. And we worked a great deal with students who were opposed. And I don't know if Shirley probably doesn't remember, but Alice might, or Sabina. Kids did a famous peace school in which they ran a whole day of peace classes, and they didn't go to school. They did it so wonderfully and so beautifully that it really honored the community. I was also part of 100 years ago of the community planning group, and I got into I guess what you call reality politics through the back door that way. We all felt that if we were going to change anything, we better be in the system. And I was asked to run against John Camera for state senate, which was a suicide mission. And after that, but I won this assembly district. That's what happened. And that's how I really got through the back door, in a way, got into the political scene.
Now, I know, Sabina, you came to Great Neck with two small children. Did you start getting involved through your children's activities? Or?
I think it really started when I was a child. I was brought up basically knowing that I was a child of privilege, and with privilege comes responsibility. And there's always somebody who needs help, and if you have the wherewithal, then you help them. Then I got married, I had children, and I did, as May said, the Boy Scouts, the Girl Scouts, the PTA, the temple, the local things that were going on. I came to Great Neck. I had 2 small children. I went back to work, and I still had time to do some community service. Then I got married again, and my husband asked me if I would stop working so we could travel. And staying home was not enough for me, and I picked up one thing and then another, and my problem was every time I saw they needed help somewhere, it was, wow, I want to do that, and wow, I want to do that, and it just escalated to full-time work.
I know you're still very involved with children's groups through CLASP. You want to tell us a little bit about CLASP and the work that they do there?
I have been involved with CLASP for many, many years. I find it to be different than most daycares. It's not babysitting. The children are nurtured. We take children from the age of 2 to the age of 10. The younger children stay on site all day. The older children can come for the breakfast club. We bus them to school. We bus them back. And because English is a second language in a lot of the homes, we help them with their homework. They have music. They have sports. They're now starting a science program for the children.
That's terrific.
They have all kinds of wonderful things. And the children actually are nurtured. And if I could tell you one short story, I was in the office one day and we had triplets. And one of the teachers came in with one of the 4-year-old triplets and said, "May I use the phone?" And she had this child on her lap and she called the mother and she said, "You know, when the children came in this morning, Melissa really didn't want to come in." And what I liked was, as opposed to her saying to Melissa, "If you come in when we have milk and cookies, you can have 2 cookies." She said to the mother, "I told Melissa that if she would come in and join the class, that she could speak to you whenever she wanted to. And is this a good time for you?" And I just love the fact that they don't bribe the child. They just let the child know you're secure, you're safe. You know, it's a whole other approach.
So you get to see a lot of the mothers today through CLASP. All of you, wives and mothers, how did you manage that, to be so involved and yet manage a home life?
I don't know. I have to tell you the truth. I look back on on some of the things that I did in those years. I'm sure the others feel the same. And I think, how did I do that? I really don't know how. I guess it was youth. But I used to have my whole block for dinner and on Christmas Eve every year for 14 years, and I had no help. And I put the kids down in the basement because it was, and the parents were upstairs. I look, and I used to keep a book, you know, it said, "Do this the week before, 2 weeks before." I look back at that last week, I thought, this is not possible. I never did this. And the same with all these other activities. I found all human rights files down in the basement, and I had the stupid job of being secretary. Never take that job. And I found all these letters that I wrote. How did I do that?
Well, they say women are great at multitasking. A
guess
perfect
so.
example. How did you manage, Alice?
A lot of juggling and a cooperative husband, and as the children got older, so that I was there for them when they came home from school. Most of the things I were involved in, the meetings were in the evening. And it was important to me, so that I made time for it, and they allowed me to have the time for it.
Oh, Sabina, how did you manage? You were working also.
Yeah, but I eventually stopped working, and as May says, boy, young helps. Let me tell you a lot. I think the way I managed was I did have cooperation. I got my children involved in things. My daughter was a swimmer. I am a night person. I used to have her at 7 o'clock in the morning in Queens for swim practice. Oh, yeah. I'd run home, do the wash then. I'd run back, pick her up, get her to school. You really have to be able to utilize your time. My children all did volunteer work. It was like brushing your teeth. You know, you get up in the morning, you do it without thinking. Yeah. They were involved in the community. My husband was president of the Greater New York Bridge Association. That took up time. You just keep everybody else busy and they don't know you're missing. That's what you do.
That's a good thought. I never thought of that.
Well, that's it, I guess. And like you said, keep notes.
Keep notes.
Oh, I
had
have
those books
lists.
and lists. And
that was only for that one part.
Oh, for the one part.
I'm trying to empty out my house now, and I guess I'm a squirrel. I don't know. I found papers that go back to the first millennium, I think, and I don't know why I kept all.
Because you never know when you're going to need them.
That's right, but I'm not that organized. I shouldn't tell that, should I?
No, well, it doesn't, you know, people get involved with what they do, and you are organized. You just don't realize it, I guess, as I say with multitasking. Someone in the community once said they had a little recorder, you know, a little tape recorder in the car, and as they drove all over,
That's organized.
they would
yeah,
tape
and
all the
had
thoughts
ideas.
that popped into their head, and then they would play it back. Yes, I was very impressed with that. And I said, I'm
That's
going to try
organized.
that. I never have, but you know, it was a good idea. Thinking about all the years you've been involved in our community and in public life, what was your most satisfying moment? Sabina?
Okay. I had a lot of them. And you really have to do community service. You have to be involved to understand how satisfying it is. But I think because I'm very child-oriented, one year we got about 150 toys at Christmas time from the Salvation Army. And we have a lot of very, very poor children at CLASP, or children who come from poor families. And we had set them all up in the lobby. We were going to let each child come out and choose a toy. And a little boy came out earlier with his mother, and as he went by the toys, he went, wow. And he said, it's my birthday. That's why I'm leaving early. And we said to him, oh, then would you like to have a toy now? And he looked at those toys with tears in his eyes.
Oh.
And I mean, you can't stand there and watch this child without really saying, it's worth it. It's worth it.
Definitely. Oh, that's a great moment. Alice?
It's hard. Each of the things I've been involved with had one particular moment. I guess with cable television, when we finally signed the first franchise with Cox Cable many years ago. With the village, all of my experiences, the mayor, were fascinating because you really are interrelating closely with residents, and it was all just very satisfying. And then the years I spent at PTA, each of those had one moment that stood out above the other, but the whole experience was just very gratifying. And
nice.
It's tough to pick out one.
Oh, May?
I agree with Alice. I think it's really hard. If you've had satisfying experiences in those areas, it's very tough to just pick one. And I was just sitting here thinking, I thought, I don't know, when we were involved in the civil rights thing, I think the most gratifying moment was being in Washington in '63 on the march. The Martin Luther King March, and in the Vietnam War. I guess obviously if the war was over, but I think watching those kids in that Peace School doing that they were so incredible that was it. When I was in the Assembly, I guess passing the rape bills was the high point for me. I did a great deal of legislation in criminal justice, and I did 2 pieces on rape. One was for rape with incest. They used to require a second corroboration. You show me anybody who decides to molest a child with an audience. So it was a stupid law. So those were there, and in town hall, I think. On a public level was when we started to do the work in Newcastle. That was the most rewarding when we finally got going on that. On a personal note, in town hall was when I left, and they had a Christmas party, and everybody, they all came into town hall. I thought, gee, usually the departments stay together. And they gave me, all the employees got together and gave me a trip to Paris as a going away present. That was, it was nice. The most important part of it was not the trip, was that they were really all my friends. That was what was special about it.
How many years were you the town supervisor?
10. I was on the town board for 2, and,
Wow.
and I was supervisor for 10.
And did great work in our town. I think Sabina and Alice will agree with me. took them out of the red into
Yeah,
the
I guess I should say that's satisfying.
financial
The day
basis.
that we got our improved rating from Moody's. Yeah.
Yeah, that was good. I know for all of us who live here in the town, it's wonderful. I know I've been on the advisory board when you signed the cable franchise, and that was,
That
a
was
good
tough.
moment. Yes,
It was
that
a good
tough.
moment, but
Hard
we went
work.
through a lot of tough years doing that. Took us
Yes, we
forever.
did.
Yeah, that was very nice. Today, there are so many organizations in our community that are in need of members and volunteers. What would you say to encourage more women to get involved? Well, not just women, I guess, anybody to get involved.
I would say, frankly, that the biggest loss in organizations is young people.
Oh,
None of the organizations have enough young people. And I think that anybody who's involved who can work on recruiting young people is doing an important job. It's hard with women too, because so many of them work and have families, and both parents work, that they get involved. But I think I would say to them, look, this affects you. It's part of your life. It's part of every day. If you don't do it, nobody does it. You're going to be missing all of these services. And as Sabina said, people here live a fairly lucky life in general, and they really ought to think of it a little bit as a civic obligation.
Well, people today are saying, I don't have the time. But, what could you say?
If it's important to you, you make the time. If you want to have something to say in what happens in your village, in your town, in your county, the only way you can, or your school, the only way you can do that is by becoming part of it.
You're right.
And if it's important enough to you, you manage to find the time.
Well, I would say there's a particular problem in the community that I live in that it's an apartment community. Oh. Now, that means that you don't have a lot of housewives. You have either young single couples who are working all day long, come home, want to be together, or you have married couples with children who work all day long, come home, want to spend the time with their children, or you have a group that I see as being very undertapped, and that's my age range. The older woman, the older man, and I have friends who say, I have nothing to do, I'm so bored, and they hang out at Lord & Taylor, and they eat lunch, and they go to the supermarket, and they tell me how bored they are, and I say, well, come out and do I don't want. And the truth of the matter is, there is so much out there. It's so necessary that whether you're interested in children, whether you're interested in seniors, whether you're interested in politics, whether you're interested in ecology, it makes no difference. There is an organization that can get you out of the house, can give you a reason to get up in the morning, get dressed, get out, and I believe if you don't use it, you lose it, and there goes the mind.
But Sabina, that's very easy to say, because that is the situation. But how you get these people involved is the major question. And I don't buy your position that it's an apartment community. We had those apartment communities years ago.
And we had people from
and
them
we had people
who were
from them
active and
who were
involved in
very
things.
active and
But
active in the community.
But they lived under less pressure. Nowadays, two
there's
people
your
have
answer.
to work.
I mean, you're talking about a whole other societal
Yeah.
situation. Too.
Yeah, but that's why I say the undertapped group are the seniors who don't go to business, who really want something. They don't even come out to the senior center for programs.
Well, I have to still stay with my position.
Okay.
That I think that the biggest need is to get young people involved, or these groups
they're gonna die
or
off.
the groups
Absolutely,
are going to
they
die.
will.
My son said to me, we were at one organization party or something. He said to me, Mom, what is this group going to do when your generation all dies off? There were no young people there.
Yeah.
And I think that's the tough job to get them
it's
involved.
a serious situation
Absolutely.
today. I like what you said earlier, Sabina, that you present an example to your children when they're young. If you get out and volunteer and give the time, it's like osmosis, and then they will get involved, or at least listen to these organizations and understand what they're all about. I think that's the best example we can give to our children. Shouldn't always be about making money.
My children are involved And as I say, they were brought up, it's like you brush your teeth, it's no big deal.
Right.
My grandchildren are all involved. It also kind of keeps the kids out of trouble. They have some place to go, they have something to do, and they have a sense of accomplishment. They really say, wow, my grandkids before Thanksgiving dinner do a soup kitchen. And when they sit down at Thanksgiving at the table, they know why they're sitting there. They know they're lucky.
Well, with all these busy activities, and I know all of you are still very busy in your lives, you know, you are not taking any time or cutting back. What do you do to recharge, relax?
I thought I was relaxed.
Well, for me, it's playing tennis and traveling.
Oh, that's nice. May?
Well, what do I do? I'm told I don't. I haven't had a real vacation in 3 years. But I'll tell you what I tell people. I remember when Tom Tom DiNapoli, who succeeded me in the assembly, he said, did you give him advice? I said, yes. I said, Tom, take one day of every weekend for yourself and try to take a full weekend a month if you can, and make sure you take either one really good vacation or a couple of short ones.
But you
and
never
they said,
did.
is that what you did? I said, no, that's why I was telling him that. I read a lot, and I like the theater, and so that's what I do when I can, and see friends when I can.
Well, I would think, yes, being with friends, you know, the
Yeah,
socials.
my friends were very inconsiderate. I had 7 very close friends, of whom 6 died within 3 years. So I didn't think that was nice of them.
I know for me, if I get a couple of hours at night and just put my feet up and watch mindless anything,
right.
anything.
That's right.
Or read, you know. I find the most difficult is I don't want to talk at night. I find I talk all day long, that at night I just want the quiet. Luckily, I have a husband who's okay with that because he's watching something on the other side somewhere else.
See, my problem is, if I'm alone, I talk to myself, and I don't want to hear what I have to say. But the truth of the matter is, at the moment, I'm short 2 days in the week. If I could extend the week, it would be fine. I actually took 4 trips this year, very short ones. Nobody even knew I was gone. They were so short. But it's my family. It's, as May says, it's my friends. Short trips. I am a night person, so like Shirley, I have to recharge my batteries. I go home at night, and between roughly 2 and 4 in the morning, I just have me, and you know. And I'm a believer you can do.
She said she's a night person.
I'm a night person. You can do anything you want to. I really believe that.
Are you sure you're not a vampire?
I do try to keep the weekends, except if there are special events or something from one of the organizations, try to keep the weekends for family, for friends, for theater.
That's a smart thing to do.
Yeah.
In terms of your life, would you say that this is the way you keep a balance in your life? Do you have strong beliefs? Is your faith important to keeping a balance? Do you get that from your family, from your children?
All of the above. I think to be well-rounded and to manage all of these things and keep the stress level within control, you need all of that.
And I think you give that to your children. You know, my theory is every little baby is born the same. And I took very seriously, I have this little life that I'm going to mold, and it's either going to grow up and be productive, and I'm going to give it certain values. And because they have my values, I think they're well adjusted. Somebody else may find them off the walls, but yeah, you know, it's for everybody, balance is something different. Going and doing, for me, I'm balanced. I'm comfortable.
May?
Well, I don't think I'm very balanced. I mean, it seems to me I spent all my time at town hall, and I was told that I was much too much involved in that, and I urge balance for everyone. I remember the things I regret that during the years when I was in the assembly particularly, I felt I had to be there, and I missed special moments in friends' lives, other things, and I tell young people, don't do that. do as you say, save the weekend, but give priority to the human things that make you, make it a life, because otherwise the balance may seem to appear to be there, but internally you're really losing something.
Well, I think that kind of says it all, and I thank you for joining me. This is a very exciting project, the Women in Technology Project, which part of this program is part of it. And I would like to thank you all. You're extraordinary, your incredible lives. You have helped our community so much, and I'm going to thank the community for to tell you that. Today, I would like everyone here in our community to think about the things that were said here and to get involved in your different organizations and maybe even a political life, which we know we need good people to get involved as our elected officials. This is the first show in a series called Extraordinary Women, which is part of the Women in Technology Project for Public Access TV. If you're interested in this project, this will be ongoing next year. Check our website or call me at Public Access TV. All the information will be appearing at the end of the program. And I thank our audience for watching today, and remember to tune in to Channel 20, your window to the community. And again, thank you very much.
Thank you for having me.